The man sitting beside me smelled faintly of cedar and rain, the kind of scent that makes you look twice even when you promise yourself you won't. I noticed him only because he laughed softly at something on his phone, a quiet, genuine laugh that cut through the mechanical hum of the plane. It was Valentine's Day, and I was flying alone, clutching a window seat and a heart that felt heavier than my carry-on. I had promised myself this trip would be about escape, not connection. And yet, the universe has a strange sense of timing. We didn't speak at first. The plane taxied, engines roared, and the city slipped away beneath us like a memory I was ready to forget. I stared out the window, pretending the blur of lights didn't mirror the mess inside my chest. I had just walked away from a relationship that taught me how lonely love could be when it's one-sided. Valentine's Day felt like salt on an open wound. I told myself this flight was just transportation, nothing more. Then turbulence hit, sudden and sharp, jolting my thoughts loose. My coffee trembled in its cup. Without thinking, he steadied it with a quick, gentle hand. "Looks like the sky's in a mood today," he said, smiling as if storms were old friends. That was how it began. A simple sentence, a smile that didn't ask for anything in return. We talked in fragments at first, where we were headed, why we were traveling on a day meant for roses and reservations. His name was Julian. He said he traveled often for work, said it casually like it was nothing special. When I asked what he did, he shrugged and said, "I solve problems." I laughed, assuming he meant tech or consulting or something equally vague. He didn't correct me. I told him I was running toward a reset, away from a chapter that ended badly. He listened, really listened, not interrupting, not offering cliches. The plane leveled out, and so did something inside me. Somewhere over the clouds, the conversation deepened. He spoke about growing up with very little, about watching his mother work 2 jobs and still come home smiling. He talked about success not as money, but as freedom, the freedom to choose your time, your people, your values. I realized then that he wasn't just well-traveled, he was grounded. There was an ease to him, a confidence that didn't need to announce itself. When the flight attendant offered champagne for Valentine's Day, he raised his glass toward me. "To unexpected journeys," he said. I clinked my plastic cup against his, surprised at how natural it felt. The champagne tasted like celebration, like a possibility I hadn't planned for. As the hours passed, we shared stories that felt too intimate for strangers and too honest to be accidental. I told him about my fear of starting over, about how love once made me smaller instead of stronger. He told me about the pressure of being seen as untouchable once you make it, about how people sometimes loved his lifestyle more than him. That was when I realized he was richer than he let on, not just in spirit. He never said numbers, never named companies, but the pieces fit together quietly. It didn't change how I saw him. If anything, it made his humility more striking. The first challenge came before we even landed. Reality knocked softly, but firmly. We were 2 people from different worlds, meeting thousands of feet above the ground, wrapped in a bubble that would soon burst. I wondered if this connection was just altitude talking. He must have sensed my hesitation because he leaned back and said, "Whatever this is, it doesn't have to be anything more than a good conversation." The absence of pressure made my chest loosen. Sometimes the greatest gift is letting something breathe. When the plane descended, the city rose to meet us, all steel and lights and promise. We walked through the terminal together, slower than necessary, as if delaying the inevitable goodbye could stretch the magic. Outside baggage claim, he stopped. "I know this sounds impulsive," he said, "but would you like to have dinner with me tonight? No expectations, just food and conversation." I thought of my original plan, room service and early sleep. I thought of how many times fear had made decisions for me. I nodded. Dinner turned into laughter that echoed off brick walls in a small restaurant tucked away from the tourist rush. He chose the place because it reminded him of his mother's cooking. Simple and warm. Over shared plates, he told me the truth about his life, about the company he built, the wealth he accumulated, and the loneliness that sometimes followed. I told him the truth about mine, about rebuilding confidence, about wanting a love that felt like partnership, not performance. The second challenge surfaced then, unspoken but heavy. Could two people at such different stages really meet in the middle? After dinner, we walked under string lights, the night humming with couples and quiet music. He reached for my hand, tentative, asking without words. I let him. It felt steady, not electric in a way that burns out fast, but warm, like something that could last. We talked about distance, about schedules, about the reality that this could be the beginning of a long road or a short, beautiful detour. He didn't promise forever. He promised honesty. I realized that was enough. The third challenge arrived with morning light. Real life. Emails, meetings, obligations. Over coffee, he looked more serious than before. I don't want to disappear after today, he said, but I also don't want to rush you into something because of a perfect night. His respect for my pace felt like healing. We agreed to start with calls, messages, visits when possible. No illusions, no pressure, just intention. The weeks that followed tested us. Time zones stole sleep. Schedules collided. Doubt crept in during quiet moments. There were days I wondered if loving someone so successful would always mean standing in his shadow. There were days he worried I'd grow tired of a life that demanded so much of his attention. We argued once, honestly, about priorities. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Instead of pulling away, we leaned in. We listened. We adjusted. That was the resolution we kept choosing. Communication over assumption, patience over pride. Months later, we found ourselves back on a plane together, this time side by side with intention. He squeezed my hand as the engines roared, mirroring the moment we first met. "Still up for unexpected journeys?" he asked. I smiled, thinking of how far we'd come, not just in miles, but in trust. That Valentine's Day taught me something I didn't learn from flowers or grand gestures. Love doesn't always arrive with certainty. Sometimes it shows up quietly, in a shared laugh at 30,000 feet, in a hand steadying your coffee during turbulence. The wildest moments aren't always loud. Sometimes they're the ones that remind you who you are and who you can become with the right person beside you. I didn't just meet a rich stranger on a flight. I met a version of myself who was brave enough to say yes to possibility, and that was the real treasure. Subah ki roshni hotel ka parde sa chan kar kamre mein rai thi, aur mere phone ki screen par Julian ka message chamak raha tha. Good morning. Still smiling about last night. Main kuch der tak bay screen ka dekti rahi. Ka rat ni real lag rahi de kalakta. Ta jesa sapna ho arbye. Message. Is sapne goes into sabika raha tha. Dil mein eka jeb si ka braha bi de aur ek meti si kushi bi. Itni jaldi kisi kale na mesus karna sahi. Thaya nai muche nai patata. Dono apni apni zindagi mai laut rahe de lekambat karna ban nai hua. Call short hodi di. Kabi airport se. Kabi meeting ka beach. Julian ki awaz mein hamisha ek sakon. Hota da. Jaise chaos ka beach ek tehrav. Wo apni dunya ka bear mindiya direo batan laga. काम का pressure, investors की expectations, और वो खामोशी जो success के बाद अक्सर जाती है. मैंने अपनी तरफ से अपनी insecurities share करती, अपने डर, और ये सावो के क्या main speed वाली जिंदगी का हिस्सा बन पाऊंगी या नहीं. यहीं से पहले, असली मुश्किल शुरू हुई. Distance, सिर्फ शेयरिंग का नहीं था, शौक का भी था. कभी मुझे लगता वो अपनी दुनिया में इतना busy है कि main surf, एक break हूँ. Au kabi usalak te kamain jambuj kar dori bana rai hun. Ek raat jab main taki hui di au rasne. Kam iskar di. Baat bigat gayi. Awaz un main gussa. Kam aur dar zyada tha. Tum samajhti kyun nahi ho? Unsne kaha. Main koshish kar raha hun. Main bisak bol diya. Aur main bayane chahti kamain hamisha. Wait, karti rahun. As raat nent nayayi. Demagman sirv yai gumta ra kashayad ye. Wahi jaga hai jahan pehla bhi dil. Tuta tha sabaz kalambas, a message aya. Koi justification. Koi bahana nahi. Surf mafiu ek simple si baat. Tum mer lai important ho, our main is action sa dikhana chata hoon. As din mujhe samaj aya karista. Surf perfect moments sa nai. Balki imperfect conversations sa banta hai. Uske baad cheezen dear badalne lagi. Wo. Abna. Schedule mere saath share karn laga. Main भी अपनी रूटीन उसके साथ ये होती चीज़ें जैसे एक हाई वॉक पर कॉफ़ी फिर या वीडियो कॉल पर साथ डिनर करना हमारी दूरी को कम करने लगी. दूसरी मुश्किल ये एक लॉग सावो करने लगी Mere dos uske colleagues. Itna amir admi tumhari sat serious kaizo sakta hai? Aur wo tumhari simple zindagi samaj pega? Yeah, sawadir dir mir andar, vi ar karn lagi. Ek weekend wo hachanak mir sheher agaya. Koi body announcement nahi bas ek message. Main nich hoon. Jab main use deka, wohi purani warmth thee, wohi ankon ki sincerity. Usdin usne, meri dunia deki, meri choti si zindagi, meri pasan ki jagahan. Na usna judge kia, na compare. Basat khala, rat ko usne kaha, tumhari simplicity, hai wo, cheese hai jo mui, grounded rockti hai. Us ek sentence ne mer kaidar chapkar dia. Chapter do kasaps bada sekya. Taki par surf attraction siag, bata hai jab dono, log apni kamzorion kasat ek disrako chante. Perfect ne the lekin hum honest. Or shayad icy honesty ne humain ego chapter kilai tayar kardia. Jahan fazla or be mushkil honwell the lekin dil pelhases yada masboot. Wuk ke saath yo cheez sabsa zyada badly. वह सिर्फ हमारा रिश्ता नहीं था बल्कि हम दोनों की सोच थी जूलियन अब मेरी जिंदगी का हिस्सा बैन चुका था लेकिन एक ऐसा हिस्सा जो हर रोज खुद को प्रूव करता था कॉल्स रूटीन बैन गई दी लेकिन अनमेन फ्रेशनेस दी कभी हम छप रेटा सिर्फ एक दूसरे की सांस सुनता और कभी हंसी रुकने का नाम नहीं लेती फिर भी एक गहरी सी टेंशन Hawa mainti, jaise koi sawa jo dono puchna shot, the lekin himmat naika rahidi. Yeah, sawal tab, samne aya jab Julian ne a rat batia. Ka us ake bata, decision lena high. Uski company expand horai dadao, or yuzi Europe shift hona pod sakta. Da, well, ke haraha da, lekin uski ankon my merry reaction ka dar soft dik da. Mirle, ye serve shihar badalniki bot naiti. Ye meri pori dunia ko fear, se arrange kanika chayotha. Main chup hogai, aras kamoshi mine. Dono ne apne dar sunlai. Kya pyar ka matlab apni pechan chhod dena hota hai? Ya pyar wahi hota hai. Jo dono ko. Saath grow karnde. Is baat ke baad hamara beach todi dori aa gayi. Baad hodi di, लेकिन वो पहली वाली भी फिक्री नहीं रही मैं अपनी जिंदगी पर फोकस करने लगी अपने काम अपने सपने जैसे खुद को याद दिलाना हो कि मैं सिर्फ किसी की पार्टनर नहीं बल्कि अपनी एक कहानी भी हूँ जूलियन भी बिजी हो गया मीटिंग्स फ्लाइट्स और वो फ्यूचर जो तेज रफ्तार से उसकी तरफ रहा था ये tears यो सबसे मुश्किल चैलेंज that एक दूसरे को देने का डर बिना actually डोर हिउ एक दिन उसने मुझे अपने शहर बुलाया ये कोई romantic surprise नहीं था बल्कि एक serious बातचीत का invitation था जब मैं वहाँ पहुंची उन्हें मुझे अपनी दुनिया के बीच खड़ा कर दिया glass buildings fast decisions और वो pressure जहां emotions के लिए जगह कम होती है उस रात हमने देर तक बात की मैं यूजी साफ साफ कहा कि मैं उसके सपनों के खिलाफ नहीं हूँ लेकिन मैं अपनी जिंदगी को side character नहीं बनाना चाहती उसने भी पहली बार अपनी कमजोरी मानी कि सक्सेस के पीछे भागते वो अक्सर अपनी पर्सनल जिंदगी को सेकेंडरी बना देता है उस कन्वर्सेशन ने हम दोनों को थका दिया लेकिन हल्का भी कर दिया जूलियन नेब्रास्का कहा कि वो चाहता है कि मैं उसके साथ चलूं लेकिन सिर्फ तब जब ये मेरा अपना डिसीजन हो कोई मजबूरी नहीं उसने मुझे वक्त दिया बिना प्रेशर की बिना डेडलाइन की उसका तरीका प्यार दिखाने का कंट्रोल नहीं चॉइस Main wapas lautito dil bara hua. Ha, par confused be cook reached. Tab test hod hain jab. Future karast elag dikni lak de hain. Main ne cook din kud kasat guzare. Apne sapnon ko leka, apni priorities ko samja. Mujhe sas hua ka main surf stability nai chati thi. Main partnership chati thi. Jahan dono apne goals kasat ek district ko space da sakin. मैंने जूलियन को कॉल की और कहा कि मैं अभी फाइनल जवाब नहीं दे सकती लेकिन मैं हम पर काम करना चाहती हूँ उसकी आवाज में रिलीफ था जैसे किसी ने उसके खानदान से बॉय उतार दिया हो चैप्टर 3 यहीं खत्म होता है एक क्लियर डिसीजन के साथ नहीं बल्कि एक गहरी समझ के साथ प्यार हमेशा तुरंत जवाब नहीं देता कभी कभी वो सिर्फ सही सवाल देता है और शायद वही सवा हम दोनों को अगले चैप्टर थे ले जाने वाला। चाहे या तो हम और मजबूर होंगे या फिर सच्चाई के साथ एक दूसरे को अलविदा कहेंगे।